Hey guys, this is just an introduction to our measurement unit to get us ready for it. So first I just want to make sure we're all familiar with the terms. So in this unit we are going to talk about perimeter, which is the distance around a closed figure. So it could be a shape like a rectangle. And the perimeter is the distance around it. So it would be like adding up this side plus this side plus this side plus this side. We can also find the perimeter of what's called a composite figure. And that's a figure that's made up of more than one shape. So maybe you have a triangle attached to a rectangle with the circle on the bottom. So you've got three shapes. So we call it composite. It's made up of multiple shapes. If we're trying to find the perimeter of something like that, it's the same method. We're still adding up just the outside edges. So perimeter has to do with adding the outside of the shape together. And in a special case, if you have a circle, we don't call the perimeter of a circle the perimeter. We actually refer to a circle's perimeter as the circumference. And so that's perimeter. The other thing that we're going to do in this unit is area. And area is the space inside of a shape. So if we had a rectangle, the area would be calculating how much space is on the inside of it. And there's different formulas for every shape. So for example, a rectangle would be the length times the width would tell us what the area is. A triangle, to find the area of a triangle, we would do the base times the height divided by 2. So it's kind of like it's half of a rectangle. For a circle, there's a different formula, pi r squared. So with a circle, the measurements that are given to us are usually the radius. So from the center of the circle to an outside edge is the radius. Or sometimes we're given the diameter, which is the line that passes from one side of the circle to the other side going through the center. We call that the diameter. And there's, like I said, different formulas for every shape. So if we deal with rectangles and squares, triangles, circles, I guess I should sketch the rest, parallelograms, which is like a slanty rectangle, and trapezoids, where you have two sets of parallel sides and then they're joined together by however, like that. Could be a trapezoid. So these are basically the shapes we deal with. And we also find the area of composite figures. So if you have like a few shapes in one, I don't know, whatever it looks like, you could find the area of that by splitting it up into separate shapes and using different formulas. Then we also are going to cover volume in this unit. And volume is the space inside of a three-dimensional object. So if we had maybe a rectangular prism, we can calculate the volume of it, which is the space of inside. So it would be like the space inside this whole rectangular prism would be our volume. And we classify these formulas into different groups. So prisms have different formulas than, say, cones or pyramids would. There's a whole bunch of shapes, a whole bunch of three-dimensional shapes that we should be familiar with. They all have different areas for calculating the volume. We'll get into that later. And then finally, the last one that we're going to cover is called surface area. And surface area is just like area, but now we're dealing with three-dimensional shapes. So surface area is like if you had a three-dimensional shape, like say you had a rectangular prism. You are going to calculate the area of each side of the rectangular prism and then add it together. So you're going to find the area of this front piece, which would be the same as this back piece. Then you're going to find the area of this top piece, which would be the same as this bottom piece. And then you're going to find the area of this side piece, which will be the same as this side piece. So altogether, you've got 6 sides. You're finding the area of each one and adding them together. And there's, again, multiple shapes we'll do. Like we could do a cylinder. We could find the area of a cylinder, which would require us to find the area of these top and bottom circles. And then this middle part, if you were to unfold it, is actually a rectangle piece in the middle. So you're adding a whole bunch of components together. So these are the 4 different things we're going to cover in measurement. So this is just an overview of what we'll be doing. And the final thing we're going to do in measurement is something called the Pythagorean Theorem. And if you didn't learn about this, if this is totally new to you, then we're going to cover more on this later, so you'll get a whole explanation. But basically what it is it's a special formula for finding a missing side of a right angle triangle. Only works for right angle triangles. Right angle triangles are triangles that have one angle that is equal to 90 degrees. And the other 2 angles are anything, doesn't matter. And what you can do is, if you know 2 sides of the triangle, say you know these 2 sides, you can figure out the length of the 3rd side using the Pythagorean theorem. And some of you already know the Pythagorean theorem is equal to c squared equals a squared plus b squared. A and B are these 2 sides of the triangle, and side C is known as the hypotenuse, which is the side across from the 90-degree angle. So we're going to do some specific learning on each of these topics, but for now, this is just a total overview of measurement. So I'm going to leave you with one question. If you had this shape right here, here is your shape. Okay, that's really roughly drawn, but anyways, pretend they're like nice straight lines. Okay, let's say the length of this side is, write this down, 30 centimeters. This is not drawn to scale. And let's say the length of this side is 10 centimeters. And we'll say this side's 32 centimeters. And this side right here is, let's say 8 centimeters. I would like to see if you can find for me the perimeter of this shape. What is the perimeter? So what's the distance around the whole shape? So recall, perimeter is when you add up each side. How long is each side? And you add them together. That's your perimeter. I'm also curious, could you find the area of this shape? Area is when you will split it into shapes that are recognizable. And I will let you know that the area of a rectangle formula is the length times the width for a rectangle. Also works for a square. So see if you can do that, and we'll see who got it in Monday's class.